Another episode of that AA Suffix Range Rover, the two-door one that I've been putting the overdrive on. Well, this time, I'm going to be sorting the handbrake out, amongst other stuff. Enjoy it! Popping the prop shafts back on. Get down here. It'd be nice to have a four-post lift, wouldn't it? And two issues. Right. Just go here. On the flange, for now, that comes off the back of the brake drum, that fixing there has been significantly reduced. So someone's had a struggle getting the nut off that. So they've used a belt sander or something on it. And that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the flange off and replace it with another one. While I'm down here, and I'll come back to that in a second, while I'm down here, I thought, you know what, I'll get the front prop shaft on. And then the problem I've got here is the vacuum pipes, which go down towards the difflock actuator from the plunger up there. That's the gear stick plunger you can see right at the top there. Well, they're not restrained enough such that they're going to rest on the forward prop shaft flange. And you can see here where it has been kind of, not necessarily easing into them, but certainly has been touching the grease that's around them. So, to fix that, I'm going to get a nice giant big P-clip and fix those pipes to the forward face of the front output housing above it. That's easy to do without the cross member in place and also without the front prop in place. And then for the rear flange, for now, I'm going to possibly just use that, give that a clean up. That's come off my parts gearbox, and there is a complete flange for now, and it looks in reasonably good order, and I'll give that a clean up, because otherwise I will need to remove the flange for now off the, I've got to stop saying that, Richard, that's getting silly. Otherwise I need to take the output flange off the gearbox on there, get me circlip pliers in there to remove this giant circlip here, and the sole purpose of that giant circlip is to retain the bolts so that they stay in position. You can see all these bolts are in fairly good order. So I think that's the plan. But first and foremost, I've got a giant P-clip and I've just drilled it out to 8mm, so I can wrap that around those vacuum pipes, and we can get that up and out of the way. And up there you can see the giant P-clip just holding the lines out of the way of the forward output shaft flange. Right, now that's in place, I can put the prop shaft back on. Front prop shaft is on, and as you've seen already, the clip to hold the vacuum lines for the centre diff is all in place, and that's working beautifully. So rotated things around, and then I thought I'm going to get the cross member in. I invested in this because I've struggled with bottle jacks and scissor jacks and fuck knows what else, and it's crazy. So this little, I think this is a 4-ton body repair kit from Hilker. It was about 100 and something quid. Do you know what? Bollocks to it. That works beautifully. So the key thing there is I barely need to put any real load on the main chassis rails around where the radius arms connect on here, and I was able just to push the cross member up into position. Dead easy, no hammering, no swearing, no beating 7 mils of shit out of it. A lot easier, and also these things are so compact that they fit in and around the gearbox. I'm not sure if it will fit in there with the exhaust in place. When the exhaust goes back in again, we'll see. The other setup I had that I was messing around with when I took all this apart, it didn't fit in around the exhaust, which is kind of the reason why I started swearing at it. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to upset my missus and I'm going to buy something for the workshop. So that has worked beautifully. Are you going to stand up? You need to stand up because I need to take this thing 8. There we go. Right, now let me just hold that, undo that, and out it comes. That is worth its weight because that saved me hours, I reckon, on putting the cross member in. Faffing around with it. Right, next I need to do this fixing. Now I probably didn't get a really good image of it before. It's that bolt there, you can see the thread is properly chewed up on it, and that one there you can see half the bolt's missing. So yeah, I'm just going to undo the big nut in the middle and extract the entire handbrake drum intact with the flange, and then I can replace the flange in its entirety. It's the rear output flange, and then I can put the rear prop on, and then we're looking just at exhaust for underneath, I think. Oh, too old for this game. Love it though. Silly arse. Right, that's the output flange that came off the car. Flange itself is serviceable, but obviously the bolts have been abused somewhat. 2 of them, that one and that one. Someone's really struggled to get the nuts off them, and they've just gone in aggressively. That one's probably had a metric nut wedged onto it. So 3 out of the 4 fixings that hold the rear prop shafts to the back end of the gearbox are shagged. As I mentioned earlier, luckily I've got one on my spares gearbox. However, as you will know, this is not the end of the issue. Customer had complained of an oil leak. It was using oil, couldn't work out where from. Asked me to see if I could have a look round. Well, yeah, I think I found it. Rear seal's gone. So the handbrake shoes are absolutely dripping with it. There is debris inside the handbrake drum, and I'm starting to wonder if some of the juddering on the clutch operation was down to this. I mean, the clutch was definitely the majority of the cause here, but that's pretty manky. Right, so what I need to do next is I need to get the handbrake apart. Now, I'm just wondering if I undo the linkage. You can't really see an awful lot here, folks. Let me just position the light underneath where we are. James lights. So we've got the handbrake linkage up here. If I was to undo that pin there, I could more or less undo the 4 bolts on the back plate and take the entire back plate off and clean it up on the bench. And I'm actually starting to think that maybe that's not a bad call. We'll see how difficult that is to get out, that roll pin there. I mean, I'm getting filthy just touching these shoes. I mean, look at them. That's well, you can go and look from that side. I'm down here, see? Hello. I don't know if you can see that or not. What I need to do, really, I mean, luckily I've got my parts gearbox. Let me just get up from here. I'm almost ready to give up on this for today. I've had enough. On my parts gearbox, of course, I've got everything accessible so I can see what it is I need to undo. Now, there are 4 bolts, and then we've got this mechanism at the top here, which is also bolted onto the top of the housing. So it might be that getting the back plate off is a bridge too far. I might end up having to take the entire back cover off, or I disassemble the shoes in situ, clean everything up in situ, and take it from there. Otherwise, I'll be kind of wishing I'd done this when it was all on the floor. I can't even use these shoes, that's got oil contamination on it. So I don't know why that's got oil contamination on it, but it has. The one on the other side isn't too bad. But I might need to get another pair of handbrake shoes. So I've got the springs, got the mechanism, got the linkage, got everything on here that I might need. That's the seal, I think, that's gone there, that chappy. But in order to get to it, of course, you've got to take this shroud off here. You've got to take this mechanism off here, which is what allows the oil to drain down off here rather than into contaminating what's going on. But it's looking on this particular case, or that particular case, like it's been leaking for some time. And it has absolutely coated everything. Oh, goody. Right, going to get it all apart now. I found one of the reasons why there's been such a catastrophic destruction of the internals of the handbrake casing. Now, if you look at this device here, it's a bit oily in here because it's an old gearbox and I've never changed that seal. There's a plate which goes here and then goes down and bolts on using that bolt and that bolt. Okay, what's underneath that, you're going to say? I'll tell you what's underneath that. Let's go and have a look. I've been doing my 22,000 up and down from the bloody floors today. Right, there we go. Well, you see, first and foremost, it's missing. And secondly, there's a hole here. Okay, so the idea is that any oil that is going to leak out should then go back to the back plate and down without contaminating the shoes. Now, in this case, as you can very clearly see, that ain't happened, has it? Now, I can use that hole in order to pry this outer sleeve off. Just need to be careful to get it off in one bit. And then once it's off, I should be able to hook the seal out. I wasn't able to get the spring clips off. They were too soggy and soft and they were just bending, so I ripped those apart. And I need to get new pins, new shoes. Springs are probably okay. I've got one of those shields already in my used stock. A seal, and there's a felt seal that goes around the actual drive shaft there. There's a felt seal that sits in the back there. Oh, by the way, don't worry about all this lot. The customer is already aware of this and is going to get underneath here with a pressure washer, clean it all off, and then treat one end of the car to the other before the winter this year, because it is very solid under here, but there's a lot of surface rust. So he's well aware of this. Right, let's get on with this back plate. Now, there was an incredible amount of really thick grease, like this shit up here, all around this back plate. And I've gone to great lengths really just to scrape it all out and degrease everything. Took this ring off here. So once you take the guard off with these two bolts, and I'm going to put that back on in a second, screwdriver in there, you can just prise the damn thing off. That's dead easy. So that chappy can go back on now. I've not put the felt washer in yet, purely because I want to soak it in a little bit of oil before it goes in. But this ring wants to come off in one bit, and it wants to go back on in one bit. And the idea is that any oil that goes past the seal comes out through this hole and then should be channeled down via here and out through that hole there, which is almost exactly what was not happening. So if I give that a little poke now, I should be able to go through there. I hope that's clear. Right, let's get to, there's a proddy thing there. I'm getting fed up with getting up and down from underneath the car, I'll be honest. There we are, there is a hole there. Okay, it's just got some gloop in it. So the idea is that oil that goes past the seal comes out through this hole, goes down this face and through that hole. So really all I need to do, bolt that into place underneath those two bolts, and a smear of silicone sealant along this edge here, so that it's not going to allow oil to contaminate the shoes like it has done. Almost exactly like that. So there's a good old smear of sealant underneath there, so the majority of any oil that's going to drip, absolute maximum drip rather than pour out of this rear seal, will go down there. Now before I put the flange on, I need to put the felt washer onto the output shaft, and before I put the felt washer and the flange on, I need to put all the shoes and everything back on, because it's a lot easier doing that before it all goes back together. So I'm a bit compacted down under here. If I show you what, there's a surprise out here as well. Hello. Now, that's what it should look like. So I'm just going to get the shoes together, pop them on. I'm just going to chamfer the edges, because the new shoes, I'm going to clean my hands up first and foremost. New shoes don't come with any chamfering on the edges, and I recommend you do. It's not difficult to do, just with the edge of a file. Chamfer the edges on those. I've got some new springs. I've got the original pins. I've got the bottom spring I've got new, because the bottom spring that came off the car was all twisted and mangled because it sits on the adjuster. Check the adjuster's nice and clean. I might need to salvage these cups, but I had ordered some. They're just taking their sweet time to arrive. Pins are completely unavailable. I've got some somewhere. So yeah, I'm going to get on with putting that back on, and then either put new bolts into this, because as you can see in that box there, I did order some new flange bolts, which are in there. And all this stuff, by the way, came from... So I get quite a bit of stuff from these guys here. They're pretty useful. I'm just getting all the bits and bobs ready to assemble. You can see I've just taken a little bevel off the edge of each of the shoes, and then I kind of just going through the box of old bits, and I thought, just go through this shit and see what's going on here. That nearly flew then. I think you might have had your money's worth out of these. There's also a reasonable chance that these have got asbestos on them, so they're going straight in the fucking recycle. I'm not going to do anything with those. Riveted on. I don't know. They are most tired, I'm going to say. Now, some of that could well have been down to contamination inside the drum, continually wearing away at them. There's the flange down there being cleaned up, and in the box up here we have got the spring, adjusters, nuts, etc., and other odds and sods. So I'm just going to clean this lot up and see if we can't get it all back on the car again. These are the pins. These are the bastards that are unobtainium. I suspect I'll find that it'll be another pin, something like a Triumph stag pin or something along those lines. Will be exactly the same. I wasn't sure if the springs were any good, but they actually look reasonably good, so I might reuse those springs. It's not a problem, because I can always hang on to stuff. There's only one spring in there. Why is there only one spring in there? Well, that's awkward. We might be using new springs anyway. Right, cleaning hands again, and put this lot back together. Now that caused some swearing, that did, mainly because, let me get myself underneath the car here, getting these pins and these springs on here was an absolute and utter balls ache. Now, all I can suggest is don't locate the bottom spring or the adjuster, don't even locate the top spring, have the shoes so you can get these pins through. I did them by hand in the end, but the tolerances are so damn fine it's ridiculous. Then locate the top spring, then locate the shoes around the peg at the top, the pivot peg, then put the adjuster in and the bottom spring. Oh, what a fucking pain in the ass. Anyway, the job's worth doing. It's worth shouting at properly. Now let's get myself up off this floor. It's got to the end of a long day. Oh, I've had enough. It's a Wednesday. Oh, it's because I was battling with a stag all day yesterday. There'll be a video about that. Right, now, next. I have got some bolts somewhere. So what I've done is use my circuit plier to extract the big circuit off the back of the hub, and then the broken bolts can come out. I'm going to give that a damn good clean up, because the wear face on it is acceptable. It will do the job. And then new bolts can go in, clip can go back on, felt washer can go in, flange can go on. What do I do with the damn bolts? I put them down here. There they are. Oh, 4 new bolts. Oh, let's check them. Oh, there's a lot more. I'm not convinced about those. Look at the shoulder on them compared to those. And they're longer too. I'm not convinced about that at all. Research needed, I think. Right, well, it looks like I had a false negative there, because I've taken the flange for now off my parts gearbox, and the new bolts are exactly the same. So fuck knows where these came from. Completely wrong. Also explains why the nuts were right on the very end of them as well. Knackered. Go in the box of a couple of bits that were knackered. Manifolds are back. He had to drill them. He's put new helicoils in where he had to. So they're all done. Not the cheapest job in the world, but at least then we've got a pair of suitable exhaust manifolds which will go back onto the engine, and I'll be able to get those all connected up now. So everything on these is in good order, because I've already cleaned up these faces. So really all I need to do is double check the studs fit in there, double check the downpipes fit to the studs, and then I can offer it up and get it done. The Series 3 is gone, which means that we have a very quick tidy up. I need to have a weekend tidy up, don't I? Because it's just getting worse and worse and worse in here. Yeah, I'll get these on. They need to be on the car. Well, that's somewhat irritating. I've lost a whole bunch of footage. Never mind, I shall talk you through what it is I've done. So, the last piece of footage I managed to get off this camera, I've thrown the card away now, get another memory card for the camera, because I think it just got corrupted. So the last thing I had on here was the exhaust manifolds. They fitted up straight away, no problems at all. Remounted the exhaust, but had a problem with the bracket that supports the leading edge of the centre silencer. I'll show you the bit we're talking about. There's going to be a lot of walking backwards and forwards in the workshop here today. Is it in here? Probably not in here. You can see all the bits that go with this car are just in this bucket here. Never mind. So the bracket supports the leading edge. Let's go underneath actually. It's probably going to be a lot more sensible, isn't it, Richard? Now, I've got a thought or something in my book. That bracket there. You can buy them new. And the one that was on this was had absolutely fallen apart. So I replaced that, sealed up the centre silencer. The problem we've got is the rear pipes are absolutely rotten. And I can't get them to shift on there, so the pipes are too close to the A-frame. I don't know why. Obviously I fitted from the engine to here, and then that fits to this, because this fits onto the floor. That then fits onto its fixings at the back there, and the tailpipe fits. So I think the exhaust is not long for this world. We are where we are. Refitted the gearbox cover plate at the bottom end here. That's all done. I replaced the rear discs because they were shot. They are in the scrap bin. So calipers were fine. Discs had started to fall apart. So I replaced those. A pair of new discs went on. Got all that done. Went for a drive. Gearbox works absolutely beautifully. The only problem I've got is that the selection from third to fourth is not quite as fluid as I'd like. Overdrive works. I've ordered another knob, for the overdrive, because this one hasn't got any script on it. So yeah, that's all back together. And then change the oil filter, because that was the last part of the kind of oil service on the engine. And then, oh right, okay, steering arm's off, Richard. Why is the steering arm off, Richard? Drop arm's off, Richard. Why is the drop arm off? Tell you what, the drop arm's off is because the ball joint that went through the end of the drop arm and onto the track control arm, that's the right way round, I think it is. Well, it was literally a ball joint that was held on with a nut at the top, and there was kind of up and down movement on it. The reason there was up and down movement on it is because the circlip had fallen out, the plate had fallen out, the spring had disappeared, and there was nothing really holding the ball joint into the arm, apart from the nut on the top. So then I overhauled this. So drop arm actually came off the box relatively easily. You can see this drop arm looks a lot newer than the rest of the stuff on the underside of the car. So I think someone had replaced the drop arm, but for some reason, one reason or another, that had failed. That just wasn't working. If you're going to do one of these, you just need the tool. It's a fairly generic tool. All the bits are on there for you to push out the collar, which sits right at the top edge here. That sits on the inside there. You need to push that out by putting that piece on top of it and then winding it out. And then you can push the new collar in by using that piece and wind it back in again. There's videos on this on YouTube. I don't need to recreate that. And then what I do is I get my marvellous clamp, mount that vertically in the vise, big socket over the ball joint, obviously with the dust cap out of the way, big socket over that, little socket on the end of the blanking plate there. Make sure you put the C-clip in, sorry, the circlip in first and foremost. And then with it all in a nice controlled environment and compressed slightly, you could put the ends of the C-clip in place. Okay, then what you need to do, because this cup goes down at an angle, jaunty angle, is just get the screwdriver and bang the circlip into the groove. Piece of cake. Right, that's going to go back on the car now. Right, new knob for now is on the overdrive lever there. I've been out for another test drive. Yes, it drives really nicely, this thing. Really looking forward to handing it back to the customer, who's really excited to get it back. And he just reminded me, Richard, did you look at the rear crossmember mountings for me, please? Okay, let's do that. And I have done a video of me driving this with all the camera mount and everything on the screen. I thought, let's just show you guys how the overdrive works and how nicely it drives, and then lost all the footage. But I might have mentioned that already. Right, okay, so rear crossmember mounts. Oh, fuck's sake. Right, now. Normally, what you would do is you would cut the head of the bolt off if it's been pushed in from above, undo the nut if the bolt's gone in from the bottom, for now, and then you take the top part of the mounting off, use a pry bar between the chassis and the underside of the crossmember. You can see you get a degree of movement there. Now, I'm not going to go berserk with this, because you will already have observed there's a fair amount of patchery going on this. Now, this is the good one. Most of this has come off in lumps like that, so there should be a big, thick, like 3mm thick reinforced plate that goes on there. This is the remains of that, and a very, very thin structure which would have originally been part of the upright. So I thought, well, maybe I can replace that. I could chop this out and I can weld a nice big piece of steel in there, but it's a bit dodgy, isn't it? And the mountings were absolutely shagged, properly shagged. And again, you can see here all of the remains of the mounting, the metal part of the mounting. It's all in here. It's everywhere. Shambles. Right, now, there's a reason I chopped the head off the bolt, by the way. These bastards, they never undo. On the... Sorry, just getting up there. On the passenger side, sorry, on the driver's side, well, there's your clue. Now, on this, You can see the original thickness there, and you can see the thickness that we've got there. Well, rather than absolutely muller this thing, I opted to chop it out with a view to potentially welding it back in. The problem I've got is on this side, there's kind of nothing underneath here. Hear it crunching? So when I get the chisel and I put it up here, well, it's going in between the big patch that's gone on the back of it and the underside of the cross member. So it's doing nothing. And then on top of all of that, this half of the mounting here, get my other hand in there, well, it's only really attached to this piece here. This bit is good. So if I tap them, you know the difference. So I had a conversation with a customer, and just in view of the amount of patching and the fact that there isn't an awful lot on the forward face from one side to the other, I suggested it's here. For the sake of the effort for me to do this, let's just get the cross member changed out. And he's agreed. Just before the end credits, give me a thumbs up if you liked that. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't. Mind you, you've got all the way to the end of it, so you probably would have given me a thumbs down by now anyway. Comments down below. All of these things do help to promote the work that I do and promote to YouTube for your benefit. If you want to contact me, churchhouseclassics, it's all one word, @gmail.com. And if you want to support the channel, then there's a PayPal me link scrolling down here. Both my email and the PayPal me link are in the description below this video. And that's my car, still sitting here. I might have to change this feature once it gets back on the road. It'll embarrass me enough into getting this back on the road. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.